Good evening, and thank you for joining the New York Jewish Week and UJA Federation of New York for our monthly Folio literary series. I'm Thea Wieseltier, Director of Public Programs at 70 Faces Media, the parent company of the New York Jewish Week. We're delighted to welcome author Tehila Hakimi, one of the most original writers of Hebrew literature today, and Lisa Keys of the New York Jewish Week to discuss Tehila's thought-provoking debut novel, Hunting in America. This award-winning, thrilling, subversive bestseller features an Israeli woman who moves to America for work, takes up hunting, and is drawn into a world of predator, prey, and dark attraction. Our partner, UJA Federation of New York, knows the value of using every tool available to address the most challenging issues today, including the increasing anti-Semitic violence that haunts so many communities and places we live and work right now. UJA is at the forefront of fighting anti-Jewish hatred and violence wherever it rears its head. First and foremost are people in such a polarized time and working to strengthen relationships and coalitions to counter rising anti-Semitism is a true priority. Check out the link in the chat for more information. With that, we turn to Tehila and Lisa to start our program. Enjoy.
Thank you, and thank you all so much for being here. I'm really excited to introduce to you all tonight Tehila Hakimi, who is a Jewish Book Council award-winning fiction writer and poet. She was a participant in the 2018 Fulbright International Writing Program Fellowship at the University of Iowa and is a recipient of the 2015 Bernstein Prize for Literature. Hakimi's short prose and poems have been published in translation in Asymptote, World Literature Today, and the Poetry Review, among others. She was also awarded Israel's 2019 National Library's Pardes Scholarship for Writers and the 2018 Levi Eshkol Memorial Prime Minister's Prize for Hebrew Writers. The Hebrew edition of Hunting in America was chosen as Haaretz's best book of 2023 and was longlisted for the 2023 Sapir Prize. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Tehila, for being here. And as we celebrate the American debut of Hunting in America, which is Tehila's first novel and is out in the U.S. today. Now, as someone personally who really loves to and makes a point of reading living female writers, I really thought this book was just absolutely fantastic. It's out now. As you can see, it's a compact book, and it is a fantastic one. I highly recommend it. And let's dig in. Tehila, welcome. Thank you for joining us. You're here joining us from Tel Aviv this evening, which is where you were born and where you've lived most of your life, and where you currently live with your partner and two young children. It's also really late there. Is everyone asleep?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, everyone is asleep. But first, I really want to say thank you to you, to Thea, and to everyone in 70 Faces Media for inviting me, for having me, and everyone that joined. Yeah, it's really late. I'm actually not a night person, but I'm awake and I'm happy, so happy to be here. Everyone else are asleep. So I hope it will be all quiet here and we can talk literature and stuff.
Fantastic. Now, you are joining us tonight because, as we all know now, you are an award-winning writer. But prior to becoming a writer, you had a career as a mechanical engineer. Can you tell us a bit about your path to becoming a writer and how you made the shift?
Well, I'm not sure if it was ever a shift. Well, I was always a reader. I grew up at a home with lots of books. I was also named after one of Agnon's characters, Tehila. But I also grew up in a home that we were taught, me and my sisters, to get a profession, to get a stable job that can we can support ourselves. So I went to engineering school, but writing was always somewhere. And at some point, and I was writing and I was publishing and I was working full time, but at some point I felt actually in order to write this book that I really needed some time off. So I did, and it turned up like it turned out to be the right choice. I hope. Um, and now I'm much more focused on writing. I'm no longer working in engineering, um, but it always also was like sort of my two careers always like collided and gave me lots of maybe inspiration or this constant clash between the two, like the writing and the work.
Mhm.
I think was maybe my big subject, my inspiration, the place where I found my voice.
Right. Now, we're going to talk in a bit how this is a novel that there is hunting involved, but in many ways, this is a workplace novel. But before we get there, I would just love to hear from you that this is your debut novel. It's your first one. What inspired you to write a novel, and what inspired you to write this particular book?
Well, yeah, but I think it actually it wasn't the first time that issue of work was like the center of my book, but with this one I felt like I knew this person, like this narrator. I knew this woman. I knew the issues that women are dealt with in this particular age, like on the verge of 40, when you are supposed to be like in the top of your career and also supposed to be already married. And I really wanted to, for a minute, take this moment in a woman's life and see what can happen there. And also from the perspective of our times, where women are always expected to be like at work, at home, um, with someone, like married with one child or a few, or at least plan uh, a
Hmm.
child, um, and well, and then the hunting, right? Like, well, how does that work? But I felt that there was this dream that a lot of Israelis has to live in America, to work in America, to relocate to America. We even have like a title for it, relocation, right?
And is
Uh,
that the word you use in Hebrew as well? Do you use the English word, relocation?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
When your work takes you abroad,
uh-huh.
it's relocation. And America is like the holy grails of relocation. So was thinking about this woman. She was very much focused about her career. She was good at her job, but she was single. She didn't have children yet. She didn't even know if she wanted to have children. And then I thought about America and Israel, and uh, about the fact that both cultures have um, this um, connection with firearms from different directions,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like in Israel, most Jewish people, Israeli Jewish people go to the army. They get training. They're very much familiar with this instrument, and in the American culture, the right to bear arms is in the Constitution, and also there's the hunting
Mm-hmm.
culture. So I felt like this whole meeting point between two people coming from two cultures with this instrument in this moment in life this whole thing really intrigued me, and I thought, okay, I think I have something here interesting that I can do something interesting with. And let's see what's going to happen.
Well, one of the things that I really, really loved about the book is that you touch on some really heavy topics: capitalism, globalization, workplace power dynamics. These are all pretty heavy topics, but the language that you use in the novel is just so clear and spare. I just love the juxtaposition of dealing with these extremely heavy topics, but kind of having the book be really a delight to read, almost an easy read because the language is very simple. Um, would you read us a chapter, please, just to give us a sense of what the language is all about?
Sure. And I must say, the translation is by Joanna Khan, the amazing, amazing translator, which was a pleasure to work with. And I will read from like the very first chapter, a very short chapter. 1. The first time I went shooting in America, I hit a tree. We'd been outdoors for a while, probably a few hours. The first shot hit a tree, but the next one whistled through the leaves. I stopped shooting. The animal fled, and everything went quiet. When I raised my head from the gun sight, I noticed David and the others staring at me, and I was embarrassed. I left them where they stood and approached the tree. I searched for the bullet, but couldn't find it. It must have penetrated the trunk. The scent of the earth was pungent and overpowered by the acrid smell of the gunpowder, which dissipated into the air. I remained by the tree. A few more moments. We'd left the office early that day. Shortly after lunch, there had been an awkward conference call with Israeli management that morning. The information they offered was unclear, their messages mixed, and the conversation left everyone uneasy. I was catching up on emails when David came into my office and asked if he was interrupting. He told me they decided to finish up for the day. And when I looked at him in confusion, he smiled and said he was going out to the field to shoot with some of the guys. Would you like to join us? When I returned to where the others stood, David patted me on the back. I shuddered, feeling each of his fingers through my sweater. They were spread apart, like in yoga class, when the instructor tells you to extend your fingers and toes like duck feet. David murmured something like, "Way to go," in a somewhat perfectionary tone that nonetheless felt good. I usually didn't like it if someone offered encouragement when I was already doing my best. It had the opposite effect on me. I smiled and said it had been 20 years, maybe more, since I shot a gun. Until that moment, I preferred to put behind me the fact that I had once handled firearms. But suddenly, it came back. It just slipped out. I barely noticed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What I love about the protagonist, who remains nameless throughout the novel, is that she's so clearly, a woman of experience. This isn't her first
Mhm.
job. It's not her first time with a firearm, and it's not her first time being in a male-dominated space. And she's also very clearly Israeli. How would you describe your narrator? And did anyone in particular inspire her?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if anyone in particular, she's not like based on specific someone, but I think I could have been her, or maybe she could have been me. Uh, and like I said before, I was really intrigued by that specific moment in time, like specifically in women's life, but also in our culture, and um, in terms of what you take with you as an Israeli when you go somewhere else, what you take with yourself as a woman when you enter a workplace, um, and all those cultural gender rules that applies when you enter the room, or when you go hunting, right? Um, so and also the fact that she has no name was important, like for me, because I felt that she could be anyone, and maybe that if she had a name, she would be more specific, and also I had that feeling about her. I knew something more specifically. It was more about uh, her voice. Like I really felt someone that was so focused about her work, uh, that it like puts something on your soul, or maybe takes something from your soul. And then I felt like she was um, metallic in some sort, like
Like that
that. When
word.
I thought,
Yeah.
yeah, when I thought about like material wise, it wasn't water, it wasn't fire, it wasn't wood. I thought it was a bit metallic, like, um, but in some way, I feel we are all some sort of instrument in a very big machine, right? Um, this is how the system works, right? We're all instrument of a very big machine. Sometimes I imagine like the market, the world, like a big machine that works, and we're all like small parts that make it move, make it live, right? So, yeah.
Now you mentioned earlier something about gender roles, which I'd love to ask you more about that. Do you see, since this is very largely a workplace novel, but also there are gender roles in hunting, like you said, and
Mhm.
actually just about everything we do, there are sort of these gender expectations. Do you see a similarity in the way that these roles are kind of divided in Israel and the US, or is there a difference? How would you just compare or contrast the two?
Yeah. Well, if we're talking about work environments, I think yes. I mean, Israel work culture tries to be, well, it really depends on what kind of company you work in, but I think there's a reference in the book too. But in America, I think when you think about big companies, they call it like the Google campus. Uh, they have this university jargon or academic jargon, right? And in Israel, they always want to make you feel like when you come to work, you come home. Like it's a family business,
I
or the
see.
family of Intel, yes, the
Uh-huh.
Intel, the corporate, right?
Yes.
So in that aspect, I think it's very much different because the mentality is very much different. And actually, I think the book is very much about that, about how we Israelis, we really feel like we know the American culture because we speak the language and we watch the movies and the music and television and everything. We drink Coca-Cola, whatever. And we have McDonald's here since the 90s. But then again, the culture is completely different. Um, when we write emails to American colleagues, they don't understand what we want, and when they send us the emails, it's too long, and we don't understand why they just don't cut to the chase, right? So uh, and in the terms of gender, I think Israeli culture is it's very machoistic. When I think of work environments, in specific, male dominated, like engineering fields, and other fields that are dominated more by males. You can find yourself in a room, in meeting rooms, when you're the only woman and you need to like move in your chair, or say something. You need to be like the feminist this feminist person who says, "Oh, you cannot say that," or
You're almost
like,
speaking for the whole your whole gender when you do speak.
yeah, stand like on your back feet. Um, but I hope it's getting better in some places. Also, of course, Israeli culture is much more conservative than the American one in general, I think. And it also affects the gender rules or
Expectation. Well,
hierarchy, expectations.
mhm.
Right.
All right, thank you. Now you are an experienced writer. I would love for you to share a little bit more about your previously published works and how they may have helped inform and influence this novel. And do you see a link between your poetry and your prose?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I started publishing a bit more than like 10 years ago. And I published books of poetry and 4 books of prose. And um, I feel like each book is connected to the next one in theme. Like my first book of poetry was titled "We Will Work Tomorrow." Um, in Hebrew, "Machar Na'avod." And after that, I wrote "Company," which is in Hebrew "Chevra," which is a word for both society, both be in my company or in your company, and also the company that you work in. And in that book, in that prose book, this whole book was all the stories happened in the workplace. Um, and there was this woman, narrator, in one of the stories that she constantly tried to get out. Uh, I named her a woman in workspace. Um, and and I think this protagonist from Hunting in America is very much some sort of a continue of that woman in workspace. And then she did manage to get out of the workspace, but then it was nature and she was holding a gun.
Mhm.
Um,
And she was with colleagues, though. So even
and
though
she was with colleagues, yeah.
you're away,
So,
but you're not really away in some ways.
yeah. But she was outdoors a lot, not only in her room in front of her computer. Yeah.
I love the contrast. I feel like you paint so vividly this vision of a corporate office, and at the same time, in the hunting chapters and scenes, I'm right there in the woods. I'm in the snow looking for an animal. Was that a challenge for you as a writer to kind of go back and forth to these very extreme settings?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I think the book is very much built like I sometimes think of the structure.
Hmm.
It really helps me. So the fact that I knew that I have these hunting trips and that I number them and that I knew that there's some drama that's gonna happen there and some tension, all sorts of tension, also with David and the relationship that she has with him, but also a sense of danger. Um, and then the parts when she's sometimes home or at work, uh, there was the parts that I felt like I'm much more familiar with, and I have them on the tip of my toes. But also, sometimes I think the parts where she's hunting are actually the parts where she's at work in a way, because um, I think that at some stage it merged, because um, she and everyone, we live in a very materialistic um, era, a very competitive. We are all in some sort, when you work for a company or a line, and someone excel, and one day a manager can decide that you are not needed anymore.
Right.
And I think this sense of how your accomplishments, how your life is at risk at every moment,
Mm.
was all the time.
So your job is at risk in your workplace, but really
Yeah.
lives are at risk when you're out hunting, and
Mhm.
parallel between the two.
And what are you after, right?
Mhm.
What are you going for, and who is going after who?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, I just wanted to repeat again that I think this was left to you all in the chat when we first opened this event, but please, if you have any questions for Tehila, please put them in the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen, and we will get to those toward the end of this session. Don't be shy. Please ask away. And moving on, we were talking just about the workplace, and so much of your writing has centered on the workplace, which is interesting. What about the workplace inspires you? Is it the setting? Is it the culture? Is it the absurdities that we all face every day?
Well, yeah. Well, I really think like there's also tradition
Mhm.
of writers that are writing about work. Uh, I can think about Kafka, maybe like is the first to come in mind, but not only him. Um, but for me, it was in Hebrew, the language that I write, and the writers that I look after. Um, in Hebrew, a lot of times you read about this protagonist, and he lives in the city, in right in the center of the city, and you don't know how he makes a living. You don't
Mhm.
know if he ever goes to work, what is his work. And I know that most of our emotional um, ambitions, um, time spent at work.
Mhm.
Uh, and we spend most of our hours, waking hour, at work.
Right.
So, and so I feel like it's only fair that, and also it's very interesting to go in and see, okay, what happens to language, what happens to people, what
Mhm.
happens to relationships when we're focused there, what happens to family,
Mhm.
what happens to your body, and all these questions um, are worth to explore, as a writer, but also as like an individual that needs to wake up every morning and go to
Mhm.
work, and in the same time a writer that wants to write but needs to go to work. So also that
Mhm.
I think really intrigued me, like to use that
Right.
um, use that clash, use that sort of friction that I have in life.
Right. And I think many people have that, which I think is part of
Mhm.
what makes your book so compelling. But beyond the office, there's another very significant setting in the book, which is in the woods, out in nature, hunting. What inspired you to address hunting as a topic for your book? And have you ever been hunting in America?
Well, I did spend some time back in 2018 in America, in Iowa, where I was in the international writing program for 3 months. Um, and I wrote this book in whole there. And I did want to, I did a lot of research online and I read some books and I went to hunting stores and talked to some people there, but I was trying to make my way through like communities and and go hunting with them. But then after I saw the videos and after I saw the animals, I came to conclusion that I can't. I just can't go and do the actual hunting, and that if I would, it might harm my ability to write the book. So I didn't go hunting. And Well, why I went there is because I think it's because like I said earlier, in regards with the culture, I really felt like this instrument, the gun, the rifle,
Mhm.
um, is something, there's the thing that you say, okay, you have the gun in the first page or in the first sentence, in the first scene, and then at some point, it will shoot, right? But also in terms of like to have it versus the female body, but also to have it as meeting point between the two cultures, but in a way like to enter a very, very dangerous zone,
Mhm.
right? Because we all know that Israel and America and the US are connected through um, like exchange uh,
Of arms and
of arms,
um,
of finance, and of course everything that's going on now or in the past since Israel, since 48 actually. So, but then the hunting is like a different um, area, right? It's not war, because I can tell you something from inside the book, because in the beginning, this woman, of course, she served in the army like me, like most Jewish Israelis, but she also had these suppressed memories from the army service, right? Like a lot of Israelis has traumas. And at the beginning, when I wrote the first few chapter, it was there. But then I came to conclusion that I don't need them to be actually there, because they're there.
I see.
They're under surface.
Right.
So with the hunting, it's like um, a different zone, a different area, but in the same time, like a different playground.
Right.
But in the same time, we are in the same place,
Mhm.
and the rules applies. And
I thought it was interesting, as you said, that this is also hunting as a culture like the workplace with its own set of rules and dynamics and sort of protocols. Um, and I thought the juxtaposition of the two settings I thought was very intriguing. Now I understand that when Hunting in America came out in 2023 in Israel, it had a different name, correct? Can you tell
Mhm.
us a bit about that and that title and how we got to this title here?
So yeah, as you people might know, Hebrew is very special language. It has much less words than in English. I think like in English there are like 600,000 words, and in Hebrew like around 100,000 words. So much less. But then you have this attribute in Hebrew that some words have few meanings, two or more, and also you have all those biblical references and places references and all that. So the title in Hebrew is Yariti be'Amerika. Here, I have it here. And in English, you can translate it both. I shot at America and also shot in America. And
Very
it's very like interesting. It's a play, like wordplay. And what is this? Why is she shooting at America? What's going on here? Uh, and then when we translated the book into English, we had like a lot of options, but shooting it in America or at America didn't sound right, either of them, right? So we went with hunting in America, which I love, and I'm happy.
extremely catchy, and I think it's a wonderful, wonderful title. Um, just one second here. My computer just did something strange to me. Sorry about that. Now, I realize that many of us here, myself included, may not be fluent in Hebrew, but I think there's something, really special about hearing a writer's words as they were originally written, in your mother tongue of Hebrew. Can you read us a passage or two of the novel in Hebrew, please?
Sure. So I read from chapter number 2. הנחמדות האמריקאית הייתה מוכרת לי הרבה לפני כן. הייתי בטוחה שאני שוחה בה לא רע. אבל שום דבר ממה שהכרתי מהטלוויזיה, מהסרטים או מתכתובות המיילים וישיבות הוידאו עם הקולגות האמריקאים לא הכין אותי. אחרי שהגעתי לאמריקה, העבודה היומיומית במשרד התישה אותי הרבה יותר מזו שבישראל. במהלך החודש הראשון בארצות הברית, מצאתי את עצמי מסתובבת בתחושת ג'טלג שסירבה להרפות. זו לא הייתה עייפות מהטיסה הארוכה. אלה גם לא היו הגעגועים לארץ. לא הייתה בי חרטה על ההחלטה לעזוב. להפך, הגעתי לארצות הברית בתחושת הקלה וציפייה לקראת העתיד לבוא.
Thank you. And can you tell us a bit about what you just read in English, please?
It's about, she's like telling about how it was hard for her, like the first few weeks, that she thought that it would be easier. She thought that it would be familiar, but actually it wasn't. And she was exhausted because she was not like accustomed to the American, the way the American are very nice, and that she was like feeling constant jet lagged, although she wasn't jet lagged anymore. Yeah.
A little bit behind in some way.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And what was the process like having your book translated into English? Was there a lot of discussion over words to use and themes? How did that work?
Yeah. So Joanna Chen, the translator, did really amazing work. She, when she meets a writer, she asks him or her to read out loud so she can really get the voice. And then she did a really great work. She did have to like study guns, rifles, hunting. So I sent her lots of references and like some of my research to have, because she didn't have any, she wasn't familiar with guns and all that. But she really did really good work, and there were really little places where we needed to make changes. We really tried not to explain anything like here, this is because of that and that, we didn't add any explanation.
Mhm.
But sometimes when I can give one example very, very early in the novel, there's this word in Hebrew, chadalti, which means to stop, but also like to stop anything, but also in Hebrew it means that you no longer exist. Um, it has these dual meanings. So in the Hebrew, this sentence, this word is some sort of a key to read maybe the whole novel. But then in
Mhm.
the English, we couldn't do it.
Thing.
But I think it still went through. Like
Mhm.
also the poetic, she really kept the music, she really kept the pace, the rhythm. She did it really well.
Yeah.
Like,
There was one play on words that really struck me. It was toward the end of the novel, without giving anything away, but the play on words between womb and tomb,
mhm,
which is something I had
mhm.
never realized before. I thought that was so clever. And then immediately they talk about a similar but different Hebrew play on words as well. I thought that was very
S- So in Hebrew, it's also kever and gever, which is a man and a grave. So it was actually good because it's not the same dual meaning, but
right.
it did something maybe even stronger.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
this is incredible, but we are coming close to the end of our time together, and there's just a few more questions that I would really love to ask you. First of all, is that the novel came out in Israel last year. I'm sorry, in 2023, which was 2 years ago. And of course, this was in the spring, before the horrors of October 7th and everything that's happened since. What was the reception like when the book came out then in Israel?
Yeah. Yeah, it happened like it came out really like 6 or 7 months before October 7th, and it was accepted very well. And um, I was very happy about it. But then when October 7th happened, and we were all obviously um, afraid and shocked and traumatized, and still until now, and I thought that. After a few months, I thought, okay, this book is out because nobody wants to think or read about guns right now. But then I started receiving some messages from readers saying they read the book and that it felt right in place, actually. And then I was I don't know if to say I was happy, but I felt like maybe it actually um a good book for this time because it does talk about everything that's going on, but not directly. Like
Absolutely.
there's something on the surface all the
Right.
time, and uh, also I think that some might miss it, right? Some might read it only as maybe a story about a woman that tries to understand a few things. So it's not like I'm coming and I'm saying, okay, look at it now, let's talk, let's discuss.
Mhm.
But in the same time, for a reader that is from here, from this area, or has connection to this area, you
I
can
mean,
read
to
it
to
that way
Israel.
too. Yeah,
Oh, someone with a connect. Yes, yeah. I really
yeah.
feel like the novel was written for the moment, or it's meeting the moment. But of course, it takes many years to write a novel. So
Mhm.
it really it seems like a lot of things lined up for the novel to be received this way at this moment in time. Um, But a related question I have is that if you were starting to write Hunting in America today, could you write the book today, do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like we talked about it before, and I told you I don't think so. I don't think um I would have I think okay, I think I could have because I wrote it already, right? So if it was here or here,
Mm-hmm.
I could have write it, but I think because of what happened, uh it would have stopped me. Like I would say, okay, no one would like to read anything like that right now, or I would like put too many stops on myself, uh, and couldn't write it like that. Um, but at the same time, I can say that I'm not at the same place where I was in November 2023 or in December 2023 or a year after, and now we are almost 2 years after. Uh, so I don't know.
Well, I don't know is a fair and a good answer to many questions. And now this will be our last question this evening. This is coming from somebody in the audience, so thank you for sharing it with us. They ask, "What are you working on now?" This book is out today,
Mm.
which is amazing. Congratulations! I'm going to hold it up one more time. Um, don't forget to go out and buy it. I highly recommend it. But please tell us what's next for you. What are you working on now, and what's coming up next?
Yeah. So I'm working on two projects in parallel, on two books, two novels. I can say like very a little bit because they say that you shouldn't talk about work in progress too much. But one is like a family story. Some of it is from my personal family stories. Family story, like my mother's family came from this village in Morocco, which is no longer exists. So it's like three generational female characters in the same family. Um, some happens like in the past in this village in Morocco, and some in other places in the world. So this is one project, and the other one is some sort of a novel which is also detective novel. It's like a multi-genre sort of project, and also there's something a bit unrealistic maybe about it, um, like a mixed genre sort of exploration. Um,
Sounds fantastic. Hopefully
but
we can
this
meet
woman,
here again.
yeah, but this woman is like uh approaching 50, so
Mhm.
she's on the way to menopause and not on the verge of having a baby or not having a baby. She's like 10 years later maybe.
See. Well, I am very excited to read this book if and when it is ready. So hopefully we can meet here again. Thank you, Tehila, for joining us. Thank you all for being
Thank
with
you.
us. Hunting in America, it's out today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Buy the book. Thank you.